Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, the place to be if you're a business owner who is looking to take charge of their personal and professional lives. I'm your hostess, Sekola Lair, bringing you real talk, practical strategies, and inspiring stories to create life business harmony. Have you ever felt self-doubt is holding you back from achieving the success that you know that you're really truly capable of? Today's guest, KC Cohn, knows exactly how to help us break through those barriers. And as a creative founder of House of Vision, a visionary coach with over a decade of experience, Casey has guided countless women entrepreneurs through life-altering transformations, both personal and professional. So in this episode, we're diving deep into the power of epiphanies and emotions in business. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around because she's going to share with us some insights on how to align your inner vision with lasting success. So if you're ready to lead your life and business with resilience and grace, this is the episode for you. Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It. Casey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sekola. Thank you so much for having me on. It's actually really an honor. I love your energy. I've been watching your podcast, so I am ready. I'm actually excited to share a story with you later about how, a time when I hit rock bottom and I was staying in a log cabin and went outside on the porch looking for just a last minute, advice from above before I decided if I was going to burn my business to the ground or not. And a vision came in about portrait photography, and I was like, what? But it just completely changed the trajectory of my career. So I'm excited to tell you about that later.
Well, you know what? Why don't we dive into that now? Because I was going to ask you to share with us a little bit about your background. How did you get onto the road of personal development, design, and branding? How did you even come up with the House of Vision?
Well, that's a really good question. It's been a series in process. I mean, I'll kind of start at the beginning. I have a background in psychology and design and architecture, and I was working for a lighting agency, and I decided to start a side business, and that was in color consulting. So I was just doing that on Saturdays at a nearby paint store, helping people choose colors for their home. And it was starting to grow, and some things were happening with the business that I was with. And I thought, if I just spent more time in my side business, then maybe I could do, that much better. So I decided to leave the 9 to 5 and went all in on that. And this was in Washington, D.C. So pretty big, bold step for this Midwesterner here.
Well, kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I moved there, I got an apartment, and I went to work. I had a business model inside of a paint store there, and started putting in more hours at that store, seeing clients, and then going into their homes and helping them. And what I didn't know was there was someone else there who was unofficially doing the same thing. And the manager pulled us aside and let us know that she was doing that. But we're in DC, there's plenty of clients to go around. Turns out there was a drop in my business. So I decided I had to do something because I just picked up and moved there. I wasn't just going to, quit or move somewhere else. So I went out to the suburbs and expanded my business out there. And what happened was I woke up a couple years later and realized that I had trained 6 other color consultants how to do what I was doing. Our model was in 6 other paint stores, and we had hit 6 figures. So 666, but in a good way. So that was happening, and it was going really great. And I felt, really privileged to be able to provide, a difference in people's homes and things like that, and be able to help others. have a job too. So it was going well until it wasn't. Having people working for you, sometimes they would not call into work, or if they'd call into to work because they were sick, I wouldn't know about it, so I couldn't fill the spot. Some of the paint stores were concerned about attire, what they were wearing, or the time that they were showing up, or things that we might leave out there. So things were getting a little hectic in the business, even though it was doing well. And I wanted more of a social life than I was having, because as you know, businesses can take up a lot of time. So I went on a social venture to the mountains. So from the city to the mountains, drove there, and I instantly felt this peace just roll over me. The rolling hills, as you may know where you live, and the beauty that's in our area, but um, just driving down the highway and the rolling hills of green grass on either side, and you can just, as far as the eye can see, it's just this beauty. It just feels like Julie Andrews singing The Sound of Music or something. So I just felt so at peace. And I thought, wow, what a huge difference that was from the city life, my business, everything I was, experiencing with that. So long story short, I decided to leave the city, go to the mountains, which was a couple hours away from my business. So I really was just letting my business fend for itself. And I thought, I'm just ready to try something else. So that's that was the first step.
Okay. So that epiphany came to you when you were relaxed, right? You're not running the right race. And I think that's when some of the best ideas come into play, is when you're relaxed and you're not constantly trying to chase this goal or this dream to acquire something more, something better. But you also had the courage to walk away from something that wasn't working, which I think I find it difficult or challenging for women. I know for me as well, because I'm one that I will still try and fit this square peg into a round hole to try and make something fit and something work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have these emotional roller coaster ride of emotions in your business. It was like, okay, I've started this. Maybe I should stick with it, be consistent with it. But then at the other time, you have self-doubt when you do have a new idea, right? And then it's like, okay, what should I do? So like with you, how do epiphanies influence the direction of a business, and how can we as business owners recognize and act on them? Because I know sometimes that shadow of doubt will kick in and you're like, I don't know if it's the right move or not. So how do you help business owners recognize that and act on it?
Yeah. So epiphanies are my thing. It's actually it's the first step that I take with my clients. My framework I call the ebb and flow method. So it's EBB. E is for epiphany, which is the first step. So what I found was that a lot of business owners they're highly intelligent. They're really good at their craft and they work really hard. But sometimes they're just not getting to the place that they want to get to, either fast enough or at all. And what happens is they've got this block. They're kind of what I consider stuck in what I call a messy middle, which is between what happens is they hire like business strategists to help them, mentors or marketing specialists or whoever. And no matter how good that marketing specialist is or that business strategist is, they start feeling doubts in their mind. It's not because of what they were given. It's because, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to be out there and facing people. And like, what are friends and family going to say? And they know me as this one person, but now I'm going to be this other. And it becomes really paralyzing to put themselves out there. I mean, even people who are doing well, sometimes there's just this next level and it's like, oh, let me just hide behind something so I don't have to show myself. So they keep scrambling in the middle, doing all this hard work to try to get things going. So think of business strategists on one end, and then think of maybe a therapist on the other end. So as business owners, we need someone to talk to, and we may hire a therapist to, just kind of go through those emotions and things. But what happens is when we do that, we have questions about our business, but the therapist isn't usually the person that we would talk to about business. That's just not their forte. So we're stuck not having anyone to talk to, when it's not with a therapist or it's not with a business strategist. So that's what I call the messy middle that we get stuck in. And that's where I realize that we need to start with unlocking these blocks so that no matter who they're meeting with or what they face, they can walk through them and be able to have the success that they want, whether it's in life or business.
I love that, because I think that's when the coaching industry was getting its start, because a lot of people were like, well, what's the difference between a coach and a therapist? And I started out over a decade as a coach, certified coach's virtual assistant. And I had to learn, okay, what is the difference between a coach and a therapist? And a coach is really good about guiding you, helping you to think through certain things. And a therapist, I find, is someone who can help you with past things that may show up presently in your life. And a coach is someone who can help you from the present into the future to take you to that next level where you need to go. And like you said, a therapist is, you don't see many business therapists out there. I'm a therapist just for CEOs. There might be some out there, not a knock against that. But as business owners, we do have that struggle. And I want to thank you for bringing that to the forefront of knowing who to talk to. What is a safe space for us to go and talk to about these problems that we're facing in our business? And how do we know which move is the best move, and how to get all of our thoughts out into logical progression of something that may make sense, and knowing the difference. Okay, is this something that's going to help me leverage my business versus is this something that's just going to be a great hobby? So thank you. And that kind of delves into another question I want to ask you, is about the role. What role do emotions play in decision making as a business owner, and how can we learn to manage them? And this is a personal one from me, because this is one I really wanted to bring out and talk to you about, because you get a flood of thoughts, especially if you're a creator, right? And if you're an innovator, and you may have all of these thoughts and all of these emotions that are whirling around. How do you help business owners manage emotions when it comes to making decisions?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm going to back up because I realize I don't think I answered your last question, which I can then segue into that
It's
one.
fine.
So the first step in all of this is, what I realize is that there's a block within us, a subconscious block, that we just can't see. And so the epiphany stage is really diving deep into what that might be. And what I do is a big series of whys, just keep digging deep on, why is this problem of, not being able to market yourself or not get clients? Why is that a problem? And diving really deep to try to find the bottom level belief, because it's not always just that, maybe you're not doing the right thing or you're not following a traditional method. Is that there's something deep. For example, if you were maybe even a business strategist and you have all these ideas, like you said, you're multifaceted, but you can't get any of them out. Every time you try to put something forth, you hear crickets. So you back away and then you try another thing. And same thing, you hear crickets and you back away and you keep doing that. And it's not because you're not intelligent. I mean, if you're a business strategist, you know exactly how to do things, right? So you start to kind of get down on yourself, right? With the emotional side of things.
Right.
Big time. And, we go through this and we kick ourselves and we don't have the compassion really that we probably need. But by unlocking what is really there. So for example, in this scenario, we may uncover that it's because as a child, you had a sibling, say a brother who was highly intelligent, an older brother, and always received these accolades for the work that he did growing up. But you didn't receive those, even though you're really intelligent too. It's just that maybe the adults in your life were trying to fill that gap of, not as bright or not doing as well as your sibling. So you're left feeling like, well, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm trying my best, but my best isn't good enough. So it doesn't really matter what I do in life. I don't need to, keep pursuing this. So you fast forward to now where you tried this idea and you backed away, and you tried that one, heard crickets and backed away, and that process. And we start to, connect the dots that you've grown up this whole time thinking that you weren't enough. You had this narrative in your mind that no matter how hard you tried, you weren't going to receive the accolades. So why keep going? And that is not only within your business, it pours out into your life too. It might be in the relationship that you have with your partner. And maybe you just give up and you're not, standing up for yourself, or you just kind of let, your partner or your kids sort of create the rules and you're just standing back. So what happens with this epiphany when we uncover it and kind of point to these different things is that they realize, oh my gosh, this has been happening. And I am really intelligent. I have all these, engineering degrees or what have you. And wow, it is, the adults in my life, maybe they were trying to just encourage me, but I took it as I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. So when that happens, it's like taking this brick wall down and suddenly, they can move forward. But it's not just with that one thing of, marketing their business. Taking that brick wall down suddenly resolves 100 other problems that they had behind them. And that sets forth in motion what I call this energy of euphoria, where they feel really excited and they feel really invincible. And their energy takes this high, which is where I come in with my next step. So their emotions have gone from, not feeling good about themselves to a place where they feel fantastic. I don't know, it's like taking, if you were covered in concrete and suddenly that concrete was removed, you just feel really light. Um, but when you can resolve those, and whether it's with someone who can, like myself, who can do life and business coaching, or someone who really works with the subconscious, and helping to remove blocks, that can make a huge difference. And so that's the epiphany stage of the framework that I do before we get to the next stage, which is a blueprint.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that, is because once you remove some of those roadblocks, then logically the next question is, okay, so where do I go from here? So what advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are struggling with that self-doubt and emotional roadblocks? How do you give them that blueprint to say, okay, this is how we're going to help overcome? Here are some practical steps on overcoming these.
Right, right. So from there, we want to build a strong foundation so that there's going to be times in life that you fall. Life isn't always rainbows and daisies, right?
Right.
So we want to build a strong foundation. So if you do fall, you're just falling, like one floor and not 10 where you crash.
Right.
So, yeah, what we're going to do is start with your values. And it might sound really simple. I mean, we go through life and we evaluate those, but we're going to look at those and narrow them down to really tighten up what's important to you. And so it's a really good exercise to do. You can go online and find a list of values and just start to narrow them down until they get to like 5 or 7 that you can really remember, or carry them with you. But the key to really making sure that you follow those is that you say to yourself, I'm always going to speak my truth. Truth is important to me. Integrity is important to me. But you want to follow that up with no matter what. Because a lot of times we get into a situation where like, oh, there it is. I'm just going to kind of back away from it. But if you remind yourself that you're going to speak your truth no matter what, and you follow through with that, then you start to strengthen your values, yourself, your beliefs, and your thoughts start to follow through with that too. So that's a really good exercise that we use before we get into the blueprint. So with the blueprint stage, for me, what I do is take them from this energy of euphoria where they're in this really incredible state and they feel very free and light, is we start to, well, what happens is they start manifesting things. That's the key, the cue, and the funnest part of all of this is once you get rid of those blocks, it's almost like whatever you say starts to come to fruition. When I started working with my clients and this is all things that I just put together for my framework, things started falling into their lap that they were saying. I had some clients who were receiving tips in non-tipping jobs, who were able to get upgrade their car when they couldn't do that, get a house. They were booked out with clients for months at a time with wait lists. I had one client who wanted to start a podcast and was told she couldn't do it and she wouldn't make any money, so she didn't. But when we worked together and realized there was a way she could, the minute she declared it and we met the next week, she said that she had her podcast booked out for 3 months in advance and she didn't even know how they found out about it. And every time they come back to me, they would always start with, Casey, you're never going to believe this. And it was always just something really miraculous. So we'd feel really giddy and, we'd both be in this really high place. So from that place, we'd start to look at where they want to go. And this is something that, the listeners can do too. We would reverse engineer where they're trying to get to. It's always a great exercise to figure out, where you want to be. And there's just start working backwards, because when you start to do that, you realize that, wow, there's not that many steps between where I want to be and where I am right now. And so by the time you put your values into place, you're like anchoring yourself in. And then you start to see this blueprint with just maybe 10 steps. You're not that far away from where you want to be. It starts to put you in a place where you're following something and you're actually moving forward because you have a way to do it. And it keeps you from, going in reverse with those things.
Right. So I like how you touched on that there are going to be some of those ebbs and flows in a business, but a lot of times it's not as disastrous as it may seem. It may be going down that one step, going back one step, and not 10 steps or 10 floor levels or going to the pit. And then you talked about having those big goals, and this is something too I learned in instructional design, is that you can have an outcome. What is it that I want people to know? And then let's work backwards. What are those steps that you need to take in order to get there? And as much as we may try, and some of us are great logical thinkers, but I know for me, and I can speak personally for myself, and if you guys feel this way, the listeners out there, let me know. Send me a message at info at work at live it, own it, at email. I would love to hear from you on this. Is that you can't, I know for me, I can't do it alone. I get flooded with my thoughts. I can't, as smart as I know that I am, I'm capable. But at the same time, you need someone to kind of help you flush those ideas out and be that sounding board for you. So I think that's where coaching and mentoring really, truly come in to play here. So thank you for sharing that, because you can take them high and they feel great. But now it's like, okay, now I got to give you that blueprint. Now let's look at this one goal. Let's work towards and let's take those steps to achieve those goals. And you also mentioned when you're on your calls, you're helping them not to keep living out of external validation, because a lot of things from our past, from our youth growing up, can manifest themselves in other ways as adults and even in our business, where we feel like we're neglected. We feel like, okay, no one's giving me feedback, and we didn't receive that external validation that everybody thought, well, yay, great job. Those types of things, they really truly manifest in us as adults, in our personal and our businesses. So, Casey, I do want to ask you this though. How can we align our emotions with our business goals to help us attract the right clients? Because you mentioned when you get on the calls with your clients, you're like, Casey, you won't believe what happened. Okay. So how can we as business owners align our emotions with our business goals to help us attract the right clients?
It's a great question. So I think a lot of this, not I think, I know a lot of what this deals with is our identity. And that's what we're building here. It's like you've always been this person, but now we're uncovering that. And within the blueprint work that I do, we go into Pinterest. So I'm a visionary coach. So while they're really excited about this, and so there's practical things and there's intuitive things, but we go into Pinterest and we create what I call buckets. So I ask them to pull photos from images from Pinterest that deal with their life, maybe different areas of their life or how they would like it to be, whether it's a home, finances, their mate, or spirituality, whatever resonates with them. We get a bucket going for life. And then we get a bucket going for their business. Where do they see themselves with their business? And if there's someone that's multifaceted, like I am, then they can choose, 5 different buckets if they want, and really be able to see that. Because what starts happening, like with one client, for example, she was pulling images for her business and she had totally forgotten that a huge part of who she is inside, but maybe didn't always have the chance to really approach it, was she liked like emergency response. She really liked helping people. And she had done some of that in her life. So she created a bucket for that, which brought a lot of her, deep heart and meaning into what she was doing, and really started to raise that as part of her identity now, where before, if it wasn't in front of her, she wasn't using it, but we were able to use that to her advantage. But we get a life bucket, we get a business bucket. And then here's the story that I was telling you about in the beginning.
Mhm.
I developed a therapeutic photo shoot method. But the way that came about, this is what changed the whole trajectory of what I was doing. So is it okay if I
Yes, go ahead.
rewind and
No, go ahead.
let you know where that came from?
Absolutely. I'm listening.
So, okay. So when I had moved to the mountains, I decided I'm going to look for my passion and purpose. And I tried a lot of different things and tied in some of the color that I was doing. I was doing intuitive color readings. I tried branding excursions. I did just different kinds of creative readings, and they were getting amazing results that I was excited about, but it just wasn't for me. So I love business. I'm a 4th generation entrepreneur. It's something that I will take a risk with. I'm not going to bungee jump or jump out of a plane, but you give me a business idea and let's run with it. So with that, I started coaching business women. And that's where I got into the blogs. But something happened that my mom had passed away suddenly. I mean, she was 80, so it's to be expected, but she had reached her dream place of where she wanted to live, but only had the opportunity to be there for 10 days before she passed away. And it was this beautiful place she had like longed for 10 years prior. Her best friend was there. She just so happened to get to live right next door to her. But she had had an embolism, we believe, and just passed away. So I was devastated. We were very close. And I was determined, to be grateful for that situation. But, after a while, it made me realize that, she spent her whole life getting to where she wanted to be with only 10 days to enjoy it. And I had also found out later that she wanted to be an interior designer, but decided to raise a family instead, which I'm so grateful for. But I felt like, if she had had someone like myself as a visionary coach to help her figure out how to navigate being an interior designer while raising a family or any of that, then maybe she would have lived her dreams. So it became really important to me to not let the music die in you, meaning that I wanted to be able to help other women start early and live the life that they want to live, have the business that they want to have, either before it's too late or before they don't have much time to enjoy it, or they never get there and they just remain content for the rest of their lives. So that became important to me. Here's where it all came down. So I have this coaching business, but it's not really going anywhere. I'm not, I only have a couple of clients. It's not where I wanted it to go. I knew I was really good at what I did, but it just, for some reason, I wasn't able to get it out there. So I was at this log home that I was staying at, and I was on the couch, and I just felt like, you know what? I feel like I'm this train on a rusted set of tracks, and I'm not going anywhere. And I don't want to end up like my mom did. So I'm like, I may have to go back to a 9-to-5 job. And I don't know that I want to do that. So let's make one last, ditch effort before we decide to burn this all down. So that's where I walked outside of this log home onto this porch. It was such a beautiful day. I remember it perfectly. And I looked up to the blue sky and I made one last ditch effort to just ask, what, more than anything in the world do I love? Thinking that there's got to be something else out there. And this vision of portrait photography came into view. I mean, gold gilded frame. We're talking like a 1960s image of a brother and sister, I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? I'm not going to be a photographer. I mean, my dad was one as a hobby. We used to have a dark room in our basement. But I was like, what does this have to do with anything? I mean, I'm coaching, I'm helping people with blocks. Is there a way to relate these two? Like, why was this just handed to me? And I thought about, I have this way when I'm really at peace, like you said, when you're at peace, things just come to you, of reading people. It's like they can be talking to me and it's almost like I can just feel their thoughts. They're so strong. Well, I'd already been on Facebook for years and I was doing the same thing online. I could see people, like not dead people, not like I see dead people, but for those of you that are old enough to understand that reference, online, I could see on their social media if there was an image of them, if there was something that they were trying to promote, with their business. I could see there was a disconnect somewhere. And I really felt like, oh my gosh, I feel like I could really help you because I could see what's going on here so simply. It's easy for me. And that's when I realized, oh, well, what if there was a way they could see themselves from the outside? That could be done in a photo shoot. I do love photo shoots, like those beautiful branding shots that women take. You've probably had your own. Your pictures look amazing.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So with that, I just came up with this idea of, what I'm doing is very therapeutic, from the epiphany and uncovering things and creating a foundation and getting a blueprint together and visualizing, all of these things, I was like, let's just add one more thing to to this whole framework. And what I did was I started working with my clients with this therapeutic photo shoot method. I knew them so well already. And we're getting to the point of understanding their identity so well that we created a bucket on Pinterest for photo shoots. So now they can start adding, what they think they want. The difference between just going out and doing a photo shoot and this process is that now they're their real selves there. That shell is off of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a lot different meaning. So anyway, with a photo shoot, they can do anything from take selfies. And this is something that people can do as well out there, but take selfies all the way to a professional photo shoot. And what's amazing about doing that is you get to see yourself from the outside. And I did this with my clients. And what happened was someone was able to go out with her boyfriend and just take a photo shoot with the inspiration from the Pinterest bucket. As she put these things out there on social media and people were raving about it. I mean, they were just simple pictures. It wasn't professional or anything. And she had become so magnetic because she could be her authentic self. And we were able to match that with who she was. And so from the very beginning, by removing the blocks, you're going to become more magnetic anyway because nothing's blocking it. Your real self is there. This energy is there and people are drawn to that. So that therapeutic photo shoot method was so important for being able to draw in people where it is effective and it works. And it gives them more confidence. I mean, who couldn't use more of that? I know I could.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that because, again, some of the best ideas that we have is when we take the time to actually rest and recuperate and really meditate and reflect on what it is that we really truly want. And I don't care what type of business you may have. If it's not really connected to your core values, if it's not what helps you to get up in the morning and continue to help you to thrive, is it something that's really sustainable for the long haul? So you have the business bucket, you have the personal bucket, you have your, what was the last bucket you called it? You called
Photo
it
shoot.
photo shoot
Photo
bucket.
shoot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have your photo shoot bucket. And that encompasses you as the whole entire individual because I know people use that term now, but I think over 20 years ago, I told one of my former bosses, I said, no, I'm working to live. I'm not living to work. And I think a lot of women entrepreneurs, women business owners, that's what we want. Even men, because I have some male listeners out there. So we don't want to work to live. We want to live. We want to work to live. We don't want to live to work. And so ultimately, thank you, Casey, for what you're doing, for helping people to get over some of these hurdles, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. They keep a lot of this inside of themselves of, I'm having second thoughts. I'm having doubts. I don't know if this is going to work, or I've tried so many different things and they don't pan out. They don't work. What is happening? What should I do? Should I just chuck it and throw it all away and throw caution to the wind? Or do I just keep trying to go to save face? And then you give them that blueprint to help them out. So I want to know from you if you have anything you want to share with our listeners today and how they can connect with you and learn more about you and the 180 to 180 program.
Sure. Yeah. So 180 to 180 was actually a former name that I had used. So I might not have changed that in some of my social media, but that was to turn a 180 in 180 days. So that was one-on-one coaching, which I absolutely loved, but I guess we could still call it that. We're using the ebb and flow method with the epiphany, the bridge, and the epiphany, the blueprint, and then the bridge, which is getting yourself out there through marketing. But I would love for people to contact me. I have a free gift that I call the Why Me exercise. And
Mhm.
it's something that I developed within my program, but I'll give it to them. And the Why Me exercise is a way for you as a business owner to put yourself out there in a way that differentiates yourself from others. Because today, especially, we can feel like the market is saturated. How am I ever going to, get seen or put myself out there or have the confidence to do so? So the Why Me exercise will help you figure out how it is that you are, special and unique in your own right, how you're different from others. And more than anything, it gives you the confidence to put yourself out there. I mean, I took myself through it and I've found out that I have this trifecta that I didn't even realize most people don't have. I have the psychology background, and I have the creative background in design and architecture. And then I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur and I have this business background. So all of those things are what make my visionary coaching unique and special. And so my clients have gone through the same thing and just received so much confidence, and it helps them, move forward and be seen and articulate themselves much better. So I have that. One of the best ways they can reach out is I'm pretty much on all the socials, LinkedIn, and look for my name. It's the initials KC. Last name is Cohn, and ask for the Why Me gift, and I'll get it right out to you.
Great. And Casey, if you don't mind sharing that with me, because I have a private Facebook group, Work It, Live It, Own It. And I would love to share that Why Me with the members in that group as well. And if
Absolutely.
you guys haven't found Work It, Live It, Own It, the private Facebook group, I encourage you to head on over there, because that's where we do the podcast after party. Sometimes I have bonus episodes there and share all the free offers that the guests
I
come
love an
on and
after
share.
party.
Oh, I love podcast after parties, because that's when we get real deep into things and talking about those things. But before I let you go, what book or podcast has had a big impact on your life and why?
Okay, this is going to go way back.
Okay.
It's a book,
All right.
and it's called Fit for Life. Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. This was a book I read decades ago, and it
Okay.
has to do with natural hygiene. So I was in the not healthcare, but health and fitness and nutrition industry. I used to be a nutritional analysis right after reading this book, because it's basically what we consider today to be clean living, clean eating. And um, today, fast forward, I'm actually raw vegan, or mostly raw at least. And that has helped me really see myself for who I am and face myself in the mirror, because food can be such a comfort to us and an addiction that we tend to gloss over our feelings. So that was one way that I learned, I don't know if you want to say the hard way or not, but to see myself in the mirror, see myself for who I was. And ever since then, I really desire to live in breakthroughs, to keep trying to, push through, to see more of myself and make sure that I'm really achieving what I want in this world, and not sit back and not die with the music still in me.
Love it. Love it. Fit for life. Next question is, if you could go back and give advice to your younger self at the start of your career, what would you say?
I would tell her to surround herself with people who believe in her. I had always had big aspirations, and I would go for them and I would let them be known, and I would start them, like, let's say, real estate investing. And people would say to me, oh, that's a cute idea, Casey. Yeah, that's cute.
Hmm.
Sure, sure. Go for it. Not really receiving the support that I was looking for at all.
Right.
And even mentors then would say, oh, you're like a bull in a china shop, and just say these things that in my mind I was like, couldn't get past. And so I would stop and not move any further. Or I would get scared. It's like, oh my gosh, there's going to be so many things I have to do in order to achieve, real estate investing. I don't know that I want to do that. So I would back down. So I would say, surround yourself with people who believe in you. Do not listen to the ones who don't. And maybe take some of these lessons that I've handed out today. Find yourself a coach, find yourself a mentor. And if it's not the right one, continue. Don't give up. Just keep going, keep trying.
Absolutely love it. Wow, thank you so much. That's been an incredible conversation with you,
Thank
KC.
you.
And
You're welcome.
we've delved into the power of epiphanies to navigating emotions and things that we all face in business. KC has also shared many valuable insights on how we can start applying them right away. Get that Pinterest board out. You know how we love Pinterest, and we get inspiration from that. Create your personal, your business, your photo shoot buckets. And also remember, embracing those highs and those lows can really truly transform the way you approach business in your life. And if you're ready to make that 180-degree shift, make sure you connect with KC and check out her program for deeper guidance. And thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode really resonated with you, be sure to share with your friends, leave a review, and subscribe so you don't miss the next empowering conversation. And we've got one coming up for you pretty soon about how you can step into the limelight and some of the fears that we as business owners make when we're out there doing public speaking. So don't forget, I know you're going to have to stay tuned for that one. So don't forget, guys, until next time, keep working it, living it, owning it in your everyday lives. Take care.